without further ado, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker of the day, Dr. Uwuijaren, who is the chairman of the African Hydrogen Partnership. A super well-accomplished professional with more than 20 years experience in the energy field. Very interestingly, hydrogen in Africa, green hydrogen, is a place where people from two sides merge. From the solar industry, a lot of people are only interested in this field, but also people from the oil and gas background. And this is specifically the case of Dr. Uwuijaren. As you can see, he's worked with Global Energy, Eni, Total in the past. And to give a brief, super brief summary of specialty, I would say is really like technology experts with a focus on disruptive engineering innovations, focused especially on reducing inefficiencies everywhere where possible, supply chain, production, everything. But we will tell you more about this. And finally, yes, as you can see, he's a well-accomplished academic as well, with a PhD in subsea engineering from the University of Aberdeen. Dr. Uwuijaren, thank you so much for accepting the invitation today and sharing a little bit of your knowledge about hydrogen and green hydrogen in Africa. You're particularly well positioned to address the topic, and welcome to this crowd. We're all very much interested to hear your point of view about the industry.
Thank you very much, John. Good to be here to share my view. If you can just see my screen, please just let me know.
Yes, it's coming now. There we go. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you very much again, John, for this opportunity. And I want to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone joining, depending on your location in the globe. And to me, this is a remarkable event, and I really look forward to this opportunity. And all protocol observed, as John has mentioned, my name is Uwuijaren, and I'm the chairman of the African Hydrogen Partnership, the only continent-wide organization that represents different African nations in the hydrogen-related opportunities within Africa. I can also use the opportunity to thank the African Solar Industry Association for organizing this great event, because we see this as a very, very remarkable event that will really open greater opportunities for Africa to really see the high potentials in the hydrogen economy. Also, I want to thank all the speakers and the panelists who have already volunteered their time to speak on this afternoon, to share their views as well. And I also want to thank all the participants that are connecting online for the opportunity to join this event as well. At this junction, I would like to stress that for the audience listening to this event, hydrogen opportunities in Africa is an opportunity that Africa should not miss. Considering the huge natural potentials in Africa regions, ranging from the powerful wind we have, the good sunshine, the excellent coastlines, for production of hydrogen and the derivatives as well. So this is an era for Africa, and that's why I will encourage your participants listening today to this event to pay attention, because you'll be able to get some couple of insights that will help you to start your journey in your hydrogen journey. And maybe as an organization, or as a corporate organization, or as an individual, or as a government, you can also get some few hints today that will help you, today and tomorrow precisely during this event, that will help you to be able to start your journey, in the hydrogen, economy. So it's a great event, and I look forward to being able to share my view, and also other participants, other speakers, other panelists will also be able to share their views. So please take time to pay attention. I would say that I will then go to my next slide. And as you can see here, I want to go through a couple of slides just to whet your appetite for hydrogen as the energy of the future, and also to share the different opportunities that we as Africa have to be able to harness and use the hydrogen, as an energy carrier, to be precise, and also to be able to create jobs locally, to contribute to the economy and also to be able to salvage our environment. Looking at this topic, the importance of hydrogen for Africa, I would like to set a context in a way that focuses on the demand and the supply for hydrogen and the derivatives. And in looking at that, we want to look at this statement that current, with the news update, this was one of the recent information that we have on the media based on what the EU Commission have actually posted out on the public domain for us to see. And looking at that statement, the statement says that the EU Commission stated their desire to replace hydrogen for Russian gas with additional 10 million metric tons per year of imported renewable hydrogen from diverse sources, and additional 5 million metric tons per year of domestic renewable hydrogen. Now, what does this statement mean for, in practical terms? I will look at the next slide to look at that in the practical terms. Now, this is just a brief overview of the energy usage mix within UK here. UK is one of the, I would say, one of the countries in Europe here. I just use as a case study to look at the energy consumption. And as you can see from this the left-hand side, you will see the energy mix here. You have the coal about 3.3%. You have the nuclear 6.4%. Then you have the renewable, which is about 14.4%. And you have the natural gas, which is 36.2. And then you have the oil and gas, which is 39.7. And what does this tell us? We're still more dependable in Europe here on oil and gas, and also the natural gas. But now EU have now made a decision. It's okay. They want to turn that around because of the source of the issue we all know currently in Ukraine. And what that means for Europe is that they need another alternative source of energy. And the question is, where can Europe rely on for such an energy? Well, as we look into the details of the presentation, we see the opportunities that Africa could be a potential for Europe to consider. But let's still look again on the right-hand side there. You will discover that more than 80% of our primary energy consumption here in the UK still depends on fossil fuel and nuclear energy. Also, the energy import, you have up to about more than 50% of energy still being imported, and also up to 90% of the oil production from petroleum and gas, and also to 90% are natural gas. But if you put that in a practical context, you can see that there is still a huge dependence on oil and gas, of which Europe have now made a decision. It's okay, they want to look for an alternative source, and the closest proximity of Africa could make Africa a potential for Europe to depend on Africa to meet their demand. So that is the context I want us to see, that as Africa, we are well positioned to really be a major supply zone for neighboring nations and the continents, especially in Europe here, for instance. But again, we're going to look at the details and then see how can we leverage on these opportunities. But to make it in a kind of a summarized format, Europe will look at decarbonizing 3 different sectors. Number one, the industry. And when you talk of the industry, you have the heavy users of this of the fossil energy, like for instance, the iron mill, the glass mill, and all these powerful, heavy industries. They use a lot of energy, but Europe cannot on its own meet this energy demand, definitely. And also the residential, for instance, if Europe is to replace all the different energy use in all the residents, I can tell you Europe cannot be able to meet up that supply. And also in the transport sector, of course, Europe is doing a lot in terms of the transport sector, but there's still a huge amount of the transport sector that really have not been reached. For instance, the heavy-duty trucks, the shipping side of transportation have not been reached. All of this creates the opportunity that Africa have in their hand, which means Europe already have a demand. Like I said, I'm setting the context of supply and demand. Europe already have a great demand in their table. The question is, can Africa be a potential supply on their own to meet this demand? The answer is yes. So that will now take me to the next aspect, looking at the application of this very hydrogen. Again, this is just a generalized application, but the major specific application goes more than what we're seeing here. You could see the heavy industry, the transportation industry. You could also see the shipping industry. You could also see even the all the other sectors as well, like maybe you have the iron ore, the different cement factories, the trucks, all of this, the cars, the transport sectors, all of this need, the opportunity of hydrogen. You may say, why hydrogen? There are other alternatives that could be used, like for instance, the electric, vehicles. But again, when you talk of these heavy trucks, the potential of electric is quite low because this, it takes a lot of usage. For instance, if you're driving, let's say, a heavy truck from here up to about 2,000, or maybe let's say about 200 miles, for instance, 200, 300 miles, you're going to run into many instances to have to charge. But with hydrogen, the energy potential, the energy, in hydrogen is more and can be able to really serve this, these trucks and all these heavy duty vehicles and also the shipping industry much more better, which means the potential in hydrogen is better than the electric for these heavy duties, especially the heavy duty trucks, the heavy duty shipping, transportation sections, the heavy duty trains, and all of these heavy duty, equipment, they all need hydrogen to be able to power those equipments. And then that will now take me to the next slide where you see the potentials in Africa. Now, on the left side, we're looking at the wind, for instance. In Africa, we have a huge potential in terms of wind. So different coastlines have very, very superb winds that can really be able to create really good energy for hydrogen. Of course, we're not neglecting the fact that there will be some energy local use demand. Of course, that is there. But however, we're looking at now an opportunity where we create we create a unique system where every opportunity to manufacture or to produce hydrogen have an energy being brought into the system, which means they're not just only taking away, but they're also creating. So which means we are creating more for use in Africa. And also you have to have the solar. For solar, solar is great in Africa. You can see on the right side there, all the red zones you're seeing in there, these are areas with heavy potential in terms of solar energy, which can be used for production of hydrogen through electrolysis systems. But again, we also look at the water as well, the coastlines. Of course, some regions have water issues, which could lead to challenges in terms of producing hydrogen. We know that, but some regions have good water system. So we could leverage on that opportunity to look at regions that have the wind systems, we produce there. Regions that have the solar system, we produce there. Also regions that have the available hydro system to feed into the power generation, we also leverage on all each of those areas. The message here is Africa can work together under an alliance where each nation in Africa have an area they're focusing on to help in producing hydrogen, which can help boost the economy in Africa. That takes me now to the economic benefits. What are the benefits when it comes to hydrogen? You could see there, number one is low cost, price, competitive, carbon-free hydrogen. Of course, at the moment, the price is still on the high side. Why? Because of the technology. But we look forward to the future, for instance, 5-10 years from now, where we can see the price of hydrogen coming as low as possible. In short, as we speak now, some of the different producers are already looking at opportunities of what we call having a huge number of demand at a time, which can bring down the production costs. That is actually what Africa should be looking at, where each of the nations are all coming together to put together what we may call a unified order at a time where the quantity and the volume drives down the price. That could be an opportunity that Africa can take advantage of. Also, we have the natural hydrogen. Of course, these need to be verified. Natural hydrogen is found in the ground. That's what we have to date. But of course, the main study is still ongoing at the moment. With the proof of all those studies, we can see and understand more on the possibilities and the potentials in those hydrogen, which I believe can be beneficial to Africa. Now, in terms of the benefits as well, you can look at the domestic aspect. We can use it for like a power backup system for Africa. We can also use it for green fertilizers, green ammonias, all these derivatives. They can all be valuable in Africa. So we're not looking at only import demand or import demand not to other nations. We're looking at local use as well, where hydrogen can be very much beneficial in application. Also within the African nations, they can be opportunity to export as well. Of course, at the moment, we know the infrastructure are still in developmental phase, but we believe that at some point we'll get to a stage where all of these infrastructures will be in place. Of course, it's a step at a time. but the drive at the moment from the global, the global effort shows that a step is being taken at a time. And at some point, all these infrastructures will be in place. But again, Africa need to take advantage, not to get to a point where all these potentials are there, but nothing is being done about them. That's why this event is important, that we sensitize, Africa about the opportunity and the potential right in their, within them, which they can leverage on to be, an energy producer in Africa there. And also it can also help, in the area of social and environmental benefits, where you see the area of, protection of our climate. Of course, if we are producing hydrogen, that will help to, decarbonize some of our heavy, carbon emission, machines and all those heavy duty machines as well. And also in minimizing the impact of biodiversity and also biohabitat. These are opportunities that we have in Africa. The natural hydrogen aspect also is there. We have already one of the field in Mali, and I believe some other field are also in the research phases where it will be discovered at some point. But the take home here is that Africa should know there is a potential with them. There are economic benefits, there are social benefits, but we need to leverage on each of these potentials and to maximize the opportunity for producing hydrogen that will help the economy and also help the local job creation, as well as help in even meeting our energy demand. This cannot be an opportunity that Africa can take hold of and meet the energy demand that is currently lacking in Africa. Having said, I want to look at the successes and the challenges. Are there success so far in the use of this hydrogen? Of course, in Africa there are. Or you look at the Egypt green hydrogen plant, the South Africa's hydrogen valley, the Mauritania project NEOA, the Namibia's SCDI green hydrogen project, Morocco's Hevo ammonia project, green fertilizer plant in Kenya, which is in feasibility phase. So these are all potentials. Of course, each of these projects have different aspects they are focusing on. Some of them are still in developmental phase. Some of them have actually proceeded into the FDI, into the main bid phase. Some of them are also still at the feasibility study phase. But however, there is already an uptick in terms of starting the projects. That's one thing that's important. But are there challenges? Oh yes, there are challenges. One of the challenges like you can see there is technological access. At the moment, technology is a challenge in Africa because we know Africa, when it comes to technology, we still struggle with so many technologies. And now the reason is because, of course, financing technology is quite expensive in Africa. In the global world today, there's a lot of huge, commitment from the government in terms of investing on the different research going on for technology, but this doesn't happen as much in Africa. We know that. So having said that, technology will be a challenge. We need the right technology that is cost efficient and also affordable. We need a fund for economically and commercially feasible projects. Africa is not so opportune to subsidy. We need to be clear about that. So for African projects, we don't look at subsidy as a way of meeting those project needs, but we look at the potential for those projects to be economically and commercially feasible. And also we also look at the energy balance as well. Because for instance, in some of the African countries, they're still struggling with the grids. They're still struggling in meeting up with the demand. But in these cases, it can be challenging to remove from the grid when they're not meeting the demand. So that's where the opportunity now comes for Africans to come together. Even when these challenges are there, they are solvable. We can put a program in place where each of these execution of the hydrogen projects can generate energy back into the system. So they're not really taking away, they are generating back into the system. That's possible. Also, we have the aspect of the security and political instability, which is a concern to many of the investors. But these are all problems that are solvable. These are all risks that are manageable. Also, the conflicting rules and the regulations in many of the countries. At the moment, many of the nations don't have, a well-defined hydrogen policy or hydrogen strategy. So it can be conflicting in that instance. When you go from one country to the other, you're seeing different different regulations, different rules that can really put the investors off. These are challenges that need to be solved if we as Africa want to really maximize this opportunity of hydrogen. Not only that, the government policies and awareness. At the moment, I can tell you many of the African government don't even have much awareness about hydrogen. When you say hydrogen, some of them look at it, what are you talking of? But that means they seem to be aware of the potential and the benefit that lies ahead of them with the use of hydrogen. So these are challenges that the investors will face when they go into such nation to establish such projects. Having said that, I will now go into one very important aspect, which if you miss any other thing, don't miss this at all. if Africa will be able to maximize the opportunity ahead of us, the key thing in there is alliance. We need to bond together under alliance where each of the countries is working together under a unified platform where we can be able to take, this opportunity and maximize it in terms of the technology aspect, in terms of the financing aspect, in terms of also creating the local opportunities within Africa, where our young graduates and those who are in the university system can be trained on the opportunities in this very in the hydrogen economy, in the hydrogen, the hydrogen opportunities are great in Africa. So that's where alliance is key. But as you can see there, African Hydrogen Partnership have already started that alliance. Today, as we speak, it's an organization that is the only continent-wide organization that's solely dedicated to green and natural hydrogen, representing all the African countries to explore opportunities for hydrogen in Africa. And not only that, we represent the whole Africa continent, for all these opportunities. We don't only just, bring Africa countries to the table, but we also support them on a one-on-one basis to make sure that they leverage on these opportunities, and also share intelligent informations that will help them, as we align with the world. So what AHP is doing at the moment, we're aligning globally. So any company around the world can join the African Hydrogen Partnership. And under this partnership, we bring all this alliance globally. We learn from what's happening in other aspects of the country, other aspects of the world, of the continent. We bring all those lessons learned into Africa. And we're able to share those information with African companies that are willing to really explore these opportunities. So for companies, corporate, government, individuals who want to explore the opportunity of hydrogen, African Hydrogen Partnership is here to support you. So if you join us as a partner or as a member, then we're able to share with you how you can start the journey, we're able to support you along the journey, we're able to connect you with other companies already creating these opportunities elsewhere in the world. And not only that, we represent, we're an organization from all around the world are free to join AHP. So whether you are in Europe or in Asia or in America, you are free to join AHP as a member. But however, it's also important to mention that AHP is an African organization run by Africans in Africa. But anywhere in the world, you can join AHP. We also facilitate commercial and economically feasible projects in Africa. So we don't depend on subsidy for project exploration within AHP. We look for opportunities that are economically and commercially feasible, because that's the only opportunity that Africa needs at this moment. Subsidy is not prevalent in Africa. And so we don't want to depend on subsidy, but we want to depend on projects that are economically and commercially feasible. And just to put it in a much more easier understanding, there are already existing potentials in Africa where we can create hydrogen opportunities that are commercially and economically feasible. We've started exploring some of them already as AHP, looking at it with our partners, opportunities in the area of green fertilizer, green urea, green note that are locally consumed, even opportunities in backup system where you use hydrogen as your backup power systems. These are all already in exploration. So it's an opportunity for every African country that want to really explore this opportunity to come into alliance with us while we explore this opportunity together. Then I want to lastly look at the project initiatives and collaborations within the green and the natural hydrogen. Number one, we see the hydrogen demand, locally. We're looking at project now. What are the projects that AHP has actually been into at the moment? Of course, due to confidentiality purpose, we may not be able to share some of them because they're still in the developmental phase. But however, it's important to know that there are projects in the area of hydrogen production of the derivatives like urea, ammonia, green fertilizers, and also looking at the export opportunities as well. Of course, export opportunities is still in process because facilities are needed. For instance, the shipping side, the piping side that will be needed to pipe this hydrogen from maybe Africa into Europe or other part of the world. So these are all being explored. But while waiting for these export opportunities to be ripe for harvest, for exploring, we are looking at the local opportunities. So local opportunities is our focus at the moment. How can Africa benefit locally? Of course, export is the long-term goal, but the short-term goal at the moment is let's focus on Africa. There are potentials in Africa where green hydrogen can be utilized, to boost the energy demand in Africa, and also to meet the demand, and not only meeting the demand, but also to create an economy that will be helpful, that will be of benefit to Africa, where our economy become boosted, because now we're depending on energy, we're importing energy. We cannot become, instead of importing energy, we can create our energy locally and avoid that importation. We save a huge amount of money. We boost our economy, we create more jobs, and we create different opportunities with the derivatives. For instance, in ammonia, fertilizers, a lot of our farmers today, they are suffering because fertilizer import is creating a huge economic deficit for them, because they have to import from elsewhere in the world. The fertilizers will not come on time. These opportunities are being explored at the moment through AHP to look at what can we do locally for the benefit of Africa using hydrogen and the derivatives. Having said that, I want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to listen, and I'm here to take any question that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Uwuijaren. Very powerful and positive overview, and very difficult exercise as well to summarize all these exciting developments in just a few minutes. But I think you've done extremely well. Thank you very much. Before we move on to the next session, there were some questions related to the last topic about exports and the current realities of transport. Andrew and Ian, for example, were asking, how can it actually be transported to off-takers, for example, in Europe? What is practical, what is not? I'm sure this will be very widely discussed tomorrow in the panel session on technical aspects that we will discuss. But if you don't mind, could you please give us like a 2 minutes point of view on that export and transport aspect?
Thank you very much, John. On the export aspect, like I've mentioned during the discussions, I'll call it, an ongoing activities because the infrastructure is important. For instance, the pipelines, if we want to transport through pipeline, for the shipping, it's a possibility. But however, at the moment with Europe, shipping still have a lot of standard to be developed in terms of the policies. At the moment, I can tell you, I don't think any of the Europe ports will allow you to ship hydrogen into their port. The reason is because it's still classified as a high explosive product. So there are policies and what I would call rules and regulations that will govern how we ship, how we transport, but these are all still in the process. So in terms of export, I would say it's not at the immediate. It's a long-term goal as the development is ongoing. I think I also saw on the news recently, Europe is considering now a pipeline that we build all the way from Europe into Africa. But like, pipeline, construction doesn't take, a day or a year. It takes years to develop. So I would say for any company or anyone interested in hydrogen, let's focus on the local consumption. There's a huge opportunities locally that we can be able to explore while we're waiting for the long-term goal, which is using, exporting hydrogen. We can concentrate on the local at this instance. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I think, yes, this is a very strong message about local use, local production. And this is actually probably going to be one of the topics discussed in the next session.